Explain this pestilence and the cure you claim to have.
So many questions of the pestilence. So many assumptions of its relevance to the Black Plague. You inquire so often of the beast that you've spent your entire life staring down. The snarling and snapping jaws that can leap and steal your breath at any given instance. The pestilence I examine is human mortality. The fleshy weakness of your own skin. The cure I provide, lending this fragile shell to the eternity of life after death. Safe from the poor decisions humanity is prone to. But in its ignorance, humanity is much like a child, cringing away from the sting of a needle's breach, and the curing vaccine it provides. And like a child, humanity fears the sting of my cure, and would rather wither and decay at the hands of an unpredictable contagion. To fear a disease is simple enough, but to fear its cure is ignorance, and fear is a pestilence even I cannot cure.
SCP-049, referred to as the Plague Doctor, is a humanoid SCP that follows the player upon releasing it. It attempts to cure the player, but upon being cured, the player becomes a zombie and tries to kill the MTF unit operatives. What is up, everyone? History Behind the Horror here, and welcome to episode 15. Today, we're going to be looking at the Plague Doctor. Now, remember, if you do enjoy this video and would like to see any other SCPs in the future, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, and also put in the comment section for any other SCPs you want to see coming up next. And make sure if you haven't subscribed, you do, because we got a lot more things coming up that I'm sure you will enjoy. And as always, I hope you enjoy the video. SCP-049 is humanoid in appearance, standing at 1.9 meters tall and weighing 95.3 kilograms. However, the Foundation is currently incapable of studying its face and body more fully, as it is covered in what appears to be the garb of the traditional Plague Doctor from 15th through the 16th century Europe. This material is actually a part of SCP-049's body, as microscopic and genetic testing show it to be similar in structure to muscle, although it feels much like rough leather and the mass much like ceramic.
What lies under the mask?
What lies under your mask, Doctor? The plastered being you present yourself to others as? The facade you cloak yourself in? Afraid of the monster within? You're in a beast, one of many some aren't afraid to show.
Are you able to remove the plague mask?
I could, but I've come to enjoy this form. I might keep it.
It was originally discovered in England by local police. Mobile Task Force responded to a suspect outbreak of. All civilians within a 5-kilometer radius were given Class A anesthetics as part of the initial containment procedure. While initially believed to be mute, it was later discovered that SCP-049 is quite capable of English. From its remarks, it appears to have a kindly personality and believed that it is treating its victims of an unknown pathogen believed to be the bubonic plague.
Is the great pestilence of which you are referring to the bubonic plague, or death in general?
By my knowledge, you know the plague very well. The one you call bubonic is merely a symptom of a much larger pestilence. For me to answer a question you already know the answer to all too well would be nearly gratuitous.
Normally, it is quite docile, but will happily attempt to treat anyone it believes to have the disease, killing them and later reanimating them as SCP-049-2. It is advertised that the player should escape from SCP-049 by using the other elevator around the corner that can be quite easily reactivated through the levers inside SCP-049's containment room. It is not particularly difficult due to the fact that SCP-049 is not very fast, though the surrounding area may pose a problem if the player needs to move around it. If SCP-049 manages to gain physical contact with the player, they will fall over and black out. A cutscene then will play depicting an infected player hobbling towards an MTF operative who will proceed to shoot and kill the player. If the player is wearing SCP-714, SCP-049's touch will not cause the player to faint and die. But beware that standing in front of SCP-049 for too long will result in SCP-049 taking the ring off and touching you. Since SCP-049 is capable of using elevators as of version 1.0, the player should watch out for him upstairs after releasing him from his containment chamber. Sometimes SCP-049 can be spotted standing in the inaccessible catwalk above one of the intersections. He will turn to watch the player as the player passes through the room, but will be incapable of causing any harm. However, after the player leaves, SCP-049 will quickly return downstairs and resume being hostile, so the player should exercise vigilance whenever backtracking to the corridor. While the player is being pursued, SCP-049's speed can outpace the player's walking pace if the player is slightly injured, but sprints are significant for keeping ahead of SCP-049. The super gas mask comes in handy in this situation. To avoid surprise encounters upstairs, the player should listen for SCP-049's ambience at all times after releasing 049 from its containment. The ambience consists of shallow breaths and indicates that SCP-049 is 1 or 2 rooms away. SCP-049's ambience and footsteps may be heard before the player picks up 049 on the SNAV Ultimate Navigator, so it is especially important for the player to rely on what is heard in the environment. Upon hearing 049, the player may be able to backtrack before SCP-049 realizes that the player is nearby. 049 may be able to detect the location of the player from several rooms away. If SCP-049 notices the player, 049's footsteps will emit loudly and chase the player until the player is either out of the effective range or has entered a door that requires a key card. The sound of the footsteps can be heard from several rooms off, so his footsteps may be effectively used to gauge how far off SCP-049 is. To escape him, it is advised that the player sprints away and closes all doors behind the player in order to slow him down until a door requiring a key card is shut between the player and SCP-049. Zone transition checkpoints such as the light containment entry doors are significant for this purpose. However, caution may be exercised whenever the player re-enters the same area as 049 will not despawn. 049 will continue to wander around the same section that the player locks him in and even continue to use the elevators regardless of how long the player has been away from the area. If MTF operatives encounter SCP-049, one of them will be killed by his lethal touch and the rest of them will quickly back off and run away from him.
So, what do you think?
I don't know. A lot of it just doesn't feel right to me.
What do you mean?
Think about it. The black robes, the polite eloquence of his speech, his touch. I really don't know. It all sounds awfully familiar to me.
You aren't saying what I think you're saying, are you?
Like I said, I really don't know.